AGCO Direct webinar. We are just going to wait a couple more minutes here to let everybody in and get everybody ready. So we'll give it till about 11:03 and get started. Thanks. All right, I think we got most of everybody in that were registered for this webinar. So appreciate you all taking the time to join us today for an exciting webinar with our media team. We have a great group of our media planners here that work directly with our AGCO direct dealers. This November webinar is going to be our last webinar of the year. You're all way too busy in December to sit down with us for a full hour. So we brought the best for last. Our paid media tools you should be using in 2026 is our November webinar. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please throw them in the chat and we will address those questions at the end. There's a lot of new tools that you might not be aware of or familiar with, so make sure you're asking all those questions throughout the presentation, and then we will regroup after the end to answer any of those questions. So I'm going to kick it over to Tatiana and Camille to go through all of the new and exciting things in paid media.
Thank you, Emily. So as Emily said, my name is Camille. I am a media planner for AGCO Direct. I've been a part of the team for almost 3 years, so I'm happy to be here.
And I'm Tatiana. I'm also a media planner on AGCO Direct, and I'm also been here for coming up on 3 years.
So there are lots of new media tools, it seems like, that are being released all the time. But what we'll cover for today are some new paid media tools in Google, Meta, and Simplify. So I'll kick it off with Google. So there is a new Google Ads service called Demand Gen. So it's image and video ads across YouTube Shorts, Discover, and Gmail. It's kind of similar to Google Responsive Display, but it uses different placements. It's more video focused, as you hear probably us talk about often in meetings and here around AGCO Direct. Video is becoming more and more important for messaging, and it's kind of the favored media for organic and paid media. So Demand Gen is kind of taking that into account and will place ads across YouTube Shorts, YouTube, Google Discover, which is what pops up when you're viewing the Google site on your phone. Often you'll see articles below your search bar. That's Google Discover, and then your Gmail. So it's called Demand Gen because it helps reach buyers before they start searching. It uses AI, like customer intent, and drives strong engagement that boosts search and Performance Max as well. So it kind of works in tandem with those tactics, but it's more of an awareness and a demand generator. it's great for showing walkarounds, promotions, inventory that you have. So you get more awareness and more interest than Google Responsive Display. It can kind of reach different audiences than Google Responsive Display can. You have a chance to tell more of a story than you can with display ads. And statistics show that companies that have used Demand Gen have seen up to 14% more conversions when they add it to other campaigns. So if you have a goal this year to increase awareness and demand around a certain group of equipment or any initiative that you have going on at your dealership, this would be a great tactic to try. And we have been running it for a couple of our dealers. It's very early stages. So as we learn more about how it's performing, we'll report back. This is an example from a Demand Gen campaign that we're running for one of our Canadian dealers, Hanlon Ag. So just wanted to show you this is kind of what those ad placements look like on mobile. Next, AI. You're going to hear us talk a lot about AI because it is everywhere. And AI Max for search is a new option for 2026. It was rolled out this year, and it's still in the learning phase, but basically what it is it expands the reach for search queries to include full sentences. If any of you use ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the other AI tools, you'll notice, at least for me, I don't search with just keywords anymore. I'll search in full sentences. And so that's what AI Max does. It's going to expand your keywords and your search queries to include and kind of guess what people might be saying in full sentences. So it uses Google AI to match your ads to more relevant searches. It improves your ad copy automatically. We can choose to turn that off or on. There are lots of different options with AI Max for search. This sends shoppers to your best performing pages. That is also something that we can turn off or on. And it's helpful because it helps you reach more high intent buyers. So people that you might not be targeting with your regular search terms, Google AI Max is going to help find people. Oh, we think that they're searching for this specific piece of equipment, or we think that they're asking about this. We can kind of help find those people as well. So it expands that reach. It gives you more local relevance, and it again gives stronger performance when it's paired with Performance Max and Demand Gen. So you get more qualified traffic, it's more efficient, and it's more leads without more work. And this is something, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this is something that we just would turn on to a paid search campaign. It's not separate from paid search at all. We can turn it off or on at any time. It's just an enhancement that Google has rolled out for their search campaigns. So just wanted to cover quickly how you can take advantage of these tools and just continue making sure that Google works the best for you in 2026. First and foremost, making sure your GA4 is connected. This helps us track conversions and optimize for better leads based on what your goals are. If you've updated a website or updated a landing page, just making sure that you communicate that with us so we can get GA4 reconnected as soon as possible. And then customer lists and CRM data, if you have the ability to share that information with us and we can load that into your Google Ads campaigns, it's completely hashed. We don't see any of the information. Google doesn't see any of the information for your customer lists, but it does enable us to find more lookalike audiences and find your customers if we want to retarget them for parts campaigns. So it just helps us spend your money smarter and more efficiently. For Demand Gen and any other Google campaigns that we're running where we can add video, if you have walkarounds or promotions or staff intros that you can share with us to place into your tactics, please do. And then keeping store information updated. We can connect your location assets to Google campaigns so that when people are served an ad, they can call you or get directions straight from the ad. So just making sure that that's updated and connected to help improve your local relevance. And then just staying engaged with us. If you have any events coming up or promotions that you're running, we can add that messaging to your Google campaigns and just keep it as relevant and up to date as possible. So now I will pass it over to Tatiana to talk about Meta.
Thank you, Camille. Meta has a few updates to their platform being rolled out that we'd like to share with you today. The first being store locations. When we add store locations into Meta, it creates a subpage under your main page for each of those store locations. Those locations then become assets that we can use in 3 key ways. First being targeting, ad copy, and then in map cards. And I'll walk through each of those in the following slide to help explain them a bit more. So first with targeting with store sets. Once we have those store locations, we're then able to create a group of multiple locations called store sets. We could use these store sets in targeting. It creates a set radius around those locations. So for example, if a dealer only sells a brand line at a few of their locations, we might create a set for those specific stores, and then ads using that store set will only be served to the people who live or travel near those stores. This allows for much more localized targeting. We can tailor ads to specific regions or specific locations. Next is how store locations can be used in ad copy. Meta lets us use dynamic page assets in the text of our ads. That means we can automatically pull in details like the store's phone number, city, and street address. The ad will then change dynamically to show the information for the store closest to each user. We have an example of that up on the screen here. This will make our ads feel much more relevant to the person being served the ad. Instead of a generic message, the user sees the nearest location and the phone number for that location, for example. Another feature tied to store locations is map cards. A map card is an extra card we can add at the end of a carousel ad. When someone taps it, it opens directions from their location to your nearest store. Right now, Meta doesn't provide separate tracking specifically for the map card itself, but we can look at overall outbound clicks as a measurement, which tracks all outgoing traffic or out of platform clicks. So that would include map clicks, but also clicks to your website. Map cards are also available to dealers with just one location as long as they have their store information on their Facebook page. Map cards can help boost awareness and make it easy for users to get direction, and that convenience can help drive in-person store visits. Now let's move into updates for creative formats. Meta is rolling out a newer format called Flexible Creative. It's essentially replacing dynamic creative for some objectives like sales, and it will likely phase dynamic creative out completely over time. Flexible Creative is very similar to dynamic creative. It uses the same type of assets. So that's up to 10 images and videos, and then 5 headline, description, and primary text. The big difference between flexible and dynamic creative is that flexible creative automatically applies responsive formatting so that the ad looks natural in any placement it's running in. Another difference is that it doesn't yet support multiple call to action buttons, but that will likely eventually change. So functionally, the setup is very similar, but the format is more modern and better aligned with where Meta is going. Finally, I want to touch on Meta's Generative Ads Model, or GEM. This is Meta's new AI-driven model that's designed for ads recommendation. Essentially, GEM uses a combination of user behavior signals, the ads format, and the creative type to decide who is most likely to engage with a given ad and then serve that ad to that audience. This change means improved ad performance because it's constantly learning from how people interact with your ads. And it's designed to scale up. So the more data we feed into the system, the better it gets at finding the right people and driving better returns. So as we use store locations, flexible creative, and Gem together, we're essentially giving Meta the inputs and letting AI do more of the heavy lifting on optimizations. With that, I'd like to get into our Meta best practices for 2026. The first being to share any customer lists you have with us and add a Meta pixel onto your site if you haven't already. As Meta is becoming more automated, it's really important that we rely less on interest-based targeting that we've previously used and more on custom audiences. Second is to use a variety of creative images, that's including images and videos. This allows Meta to test various creative combinations and find what works best for you. And then finally, please let us know if you're interested in using any of the store location features, and we'll be happy to implement that for you. I'll now pass it back to Camille to talk about Simplify.
Thank you, Tatiana. So Simplify just continues to expand on its offerings for us. And so there are so many things. I could probably talk about Simplify for a whole hour with everything that they do offer, but I just wanted to grab a couple of things that are newer, and talk about them. So the first is premium streaming with CTV. Simplify now has inventory on Netflix, YouTube TV, Disney Plus, Hulu, Paramount. Lots and lots of streaming services are available. These are the monthly minimums for Netflix and YouTube TV, but there are no monthly minimums with several of the other streaming services. So if you have an interest, let us know. This would be targeted by county or zip code for those services. This is a great way to boost awareness. As we know, CTV and ZTV are always good awareness tactics, and it's really great that Simplify has inventory for these specific streaming services available this year. Next is programmatic podcast ads. So Simplify has access to SiriusXM, Spotify, and more. And podcasts usually have a very loyal following. So if there's an interest for awareness there or specific messaging around certain podcast subjects, we can run across multiple different platforms through Simplify. Another option is digital out of home. So this is basically banners, digital screens that will pop up when you're at the gas station, when you're at the movie theater, when you're at a certain event or maybe a restaurant. They have access to over 159 digital screen networks, and the cost is fairly low at $1,500 a month. So if you want to build awareness on a more local level, that digital out of home would be a good option. And then finally, recruitment campaign support. So if we can place a pixel on your recruitment site or wherever you're driving applications to, we can reach job seekers and also track when they've submitted applications to make the campaign run more efficiently. And we can do this through running display ads, audio ads, or connected TV ads through Simplify. So those are just a few of the options that I wanted to talk about. And then there's one more through Simplify that we got really excited about this year, and that is weather-based targeting. So there is a new offering from Simplify that basically you can run ads that turn on or off based on real-time or forecasted weather. So it uses the zip code level targeting and signals like temperature, rain, wind, pollen, humidity to turn on or off your ads. It reaches shoppers right when weather creates demand. So if you've got a dry spell and you want to run hay ads during that time, during a certain time of year, if a huge storm comes through and you want to run ads for cleanup, or it's a cold snap and you want to run ads for service specials, it helps reduce that wasted spend because the ads are only running when the conditions match, and it's perfect for seasonal equipment, parts, and service needs. These are just some of the different weather triggers that you can use. But if there's an interest there this year around any weather-based targeting, let us know. We can talk more about it. So there are a few things that you can do to take advantage of Simplify campaigns this year. This one's similar to Google and Meta. Just share high quality videos and images with us. Walkarounds work great for connected TV and digital out of home. Short clips provide better performance on streaming and podcast companion banners. If you have any hiring needs this year, we can run recruitment campaigns using that pixel tracking to help you see real application results, like we do often for like a lead gen campaign for recruitment. If you have any seasonal windows that you want to run promotions for, we can talk about weather-based targeting and implementing that in your planning. And then if you have any events or promotions going on, Simplify is really great at kind of taking the full picture and following the customer along the journey. We can run a geofence around an event that you may have at your dealership and then retarget those people using a meta ad, using a Simplify pixel, or retarget people from a farm show using a meta ad or another Simplify retargeting ad. So just talk to us about what you've got going on for this year and we can find the best fit for you. That's it for our presentation today. Are there any questions?
We do have some questions. So
Awesome.
the first one is kind of ambiguous, I guess. There's probably multiple people that are going to have to answer this question, but how do we connect to GA4? So I think there are multiple different instances in which we have to answer this question. So I think it depends on whether we're asking if we have a GA4 account to begin with. So this dealer, if you are looking to create a Google Analytics account, just reach out to your AGCO Direct account manager and we can help you get set up with a Google Analytics account. But if they already have a Google Analytics account and they just want to make sure that they're tracking their paid media or organic social media activities, how would they go about making sure that all of their media is connected to their GA account?
Yeah, so I think the best way to go about that, and we usually do this when the year starts, but we can do it at any time. If you just let your account manager know, we can have our analytics team go in and check, make sure that events are tracking. If there are other events that you want to track, like let's say you have a campaign for recruitment and you want to make sure that that application button is being tracked, or when people submit the application that you're tracking those submissions, we can go in with the analytics team and just make sure that those events are created, that they're firing properly. So it never hurts to check, especially at the beginning of the year. So yeah, feel free to ask anytime.
And if you are doing your paid media by yourself, you can reach out to us as well, and we can give you some guidance on how to make sure that you are connected correctly to your own Google Analytics account and through your Google paid media and your using UTMs and everything to make sure that you are connected and you can track your media as well. So just make sure either ads at agcodirect.com or reach out directly to your account manager as well, and we can give you some guidance on the GA4 connections to make sure that you can track your ROIs for sure. Another question was, can demand gen target customers shopping specifically for ag equipment like balers, planters, or used tractors?
Yes, we can put those search terms and audience signals into demand gen, kind of similar to how we do for PMAX. So short answer, yes. And I think demand gen is really going to work well also if we have customer lists available and we can use that lookalike audience. We'll report back on our findings as the campaigns that we are currently running with demand gen continue to run. I don't know if I mentioned this also, but AI Max we have turned on for a couple campaigns, but it's very, very early in optimization there. So we will report back on both. But yes, you can target based on what users are searching for. And YouTube is basically a search engine with video today. So being able to reach users based on what they might be searching for on YouTube is a great option as well. Gives you
And
a chance
when-
to really tell your story with video.
When dealers are pulling their customer lists, what do you need them to include in that customer list? Is it just the physical address? Is it an email address? Is it a phone number? Or what do you use for targeting for those specific ads?
Usually email and phone number are the best pieces of data that we can use because of just login information and what's tied to your accounts online. But any information that you can give is, I think more is always better. And it is something that, once we look, I also will mention that we need at least 1,000 customers because Google kind of has that as a rule, because just in case they can only get 35%, they can only match 35% of users. You're still going to have a pretty good sample size with a customer list of 1,000. So I know it sounds like a lot, but I don't think it really is. And email and phone number is definitely the best pieces of data for Google or Meta.
Awesome.
Yeah, to jump in on that Meta part, we do need at least an email address or phone number. Otherwise, we can't match it in the Meta system.
Okay. Is the cost for demand gen comparable to PMax?
Yes, that's a great question. The campaigns that we are running right now with Demand Gen are very similar to the cost that we would run for PMax, but it also depends on your targeting. That's always a caveat. If we're, targeting a larger area, we may want to add more budget behind it. If we're targeting a smaller area or we have a very specific conversion that we're looking for, we may want to shrink that budget down. So I would say if you're interested in running Demand Gen, let us take a look at your PAR and your goals for for the campaign that you want to run, and we can give you a better recommendation.
Have you used the AI Max for search to improve any dealers' paid search campaigns for targeting or conversions yet? Or have you used it on any dealer campaigns at this time? And have you seen any sort of improvements or anything?
Yes. So we literally just turned it on a week ago for a couple of our dealers' campaigns. And when I was in there yesterday checking, the click-through rate looked very similar to what I see on their paid search, on their, keyword search campaigns. There were no conversions yet. So that's going to be, I think, the most telling part. And this is something that I've talked with the Google team about as well with AI Max. They said that we should see similar cost for conversions and conversion rates with AI Max, but if we don't, that they would recommend we turn it back off or, try it for a different campaign, because it still is very much in the learning phase at Google too. So, but I think the longer that this tactic or this kind of add-on is available for search campaigns, the better it's going to be. It's going to learn more and more the more data it has. So
For Meta, do we have to set up the store locations ourselves, or does Meta do that for us? Or is it something that we can come to you to do for us as well?
Please come to us to do that. There is a specific way we need to set it up so that it's linked correctly and we can actually use those store assets. So please just let us know if that's something you're interested in, and we're more than happy to get that set up for you.
And what creative formats tend to resonate most with farmers in Meta, like carousel ads, video, or that flexible creative that you were talking about?
I would say it does depend on your goals and what you want to do. If it is something where you want more like store visits, that is something we have to run carousel ads to get that map card option. But best practices is running dynamic creative or flexible creative. That allows the Meta's system to test all sorts of different formats. So that's single image, video, carousel, and figure out what's working best for your audience.
Awesome. Last question is that weather-based targeting, which I think is probably pretty exciting for our specific demographic. For the weather-based targeting in Simplify, would you just put a budget aside in your marketing plan for just in case we have a weather episode, and then spend those when certain weather-related instances happen? Or how do you see that being used for dealers?
Yes, I think setting a little bit of a budget aside in case of a weather event would be a perfect way to use a tactic like this. Just, yeah, and I think you could run display ads that, that will pop up when the weather, when a certain weather event targets it, or a video ad as well, for connected TV. So, but I do think reserving your budget. I know with a lot of weather, we hope it doesn't happen, but we know that it could. So wanting to be prepared, I think that's kind of the way to look at this type of tactic. Just keeping it in your back pocket in case you need to use it would be a great approach. And yeah, there's so many things so many different events that could trigger weather-based targeting. So I think it would be a great thing to test out and see.
Especially for like those coastal dealers too, that might run into the larger events that we've seen happen in the last year.
Right.
Might be good for your hurricane seasons and stuff like that as well.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, thank you ladies so much for educating us on these awesome new not new platforms, but new opportunities with the platforms that we're already currently using. Like I said, this is our last webinar for the year, but we will be back in January with a new webinar, and we are here to help you plan for your 2026 marketing. These wonderful ladies will help put us marketing plans together for next year as well. I'm sure some of you have already been on meetings with them or have meetings planned for the rest of the year to connect with them as well as us to get your marketing set for 2026. If you haven't already, make sure to connect with your AGCO Direct account manager or email us at ads@agcodirect.com, and we would love to get a marketing plan together for you to help you utilize your co-op next year and just get your marketing set for the year. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us and chat through some exciting opportunities for paid media for next year. And we will see you in 2026.
Thank you.
Thank you.